Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Horror Room. I'm Travis Bruce, and today I'm having a returning guest all the way from the UK. He has a movie out right now that I have had the pleasure of seeing. It's a fun little horror movie, and it's called Pounce. You can find it on Tubi, Plex, Roku, Amazon Prime, anywhere, any streaming service. And I have with us Keith Robinson. Keith, welcome back to the Horror Room.
Hi, Travis. You're right. Good to be back, man.
It's a pleasure, man. It's a pleasure. So tell everybody who hasn't had a chance to see it, tell us a little bit about Pounce.
Yeah, it was an action horror werewolf conspiracy film with lots of action, lots of practical effects, lots of sort of wolf effects, army action, shoot 'em up, conspiracy, the whole thing. Tried to chuck everything into that one. Yeah, and hopefully it's a lot of fun. It did get listed, and I saw it on a website. It got listed as one of the best four werewolf films on Amazon Prime. I think it was on Dread Central said that. When the reviewers picked it up. Yeah, they just picked the four sort of recommended werewolf films to watch. And not that it's specifically a werewolf film, because it sort of is, but it sort of isn't. But yeah, it got listed on there as one of the four to watch on Amazon Prime. So yeah, which was kind of nice of them to do, you know.
And watching your movie, it felt like I grew up in the '80s. It felt like I was stepping back in the '80s.
It harks back to a lot of the '80s, you know, werewolf films. That was what I wanted to do. Obviously, American Werewolf in London was filmed in England, sort of just around the corner from where I live. And I went to Wales and shot some scenes, some bits and pieces there for it, exactly where John Landis sort of filmed some bits as an homage to American Werewolf in London. And yeah, I just want to do something with a crazy practical effects and sort of werewolf creature. And you know, go off to Wales and grab, because it's such lovely, eerie, scary countryside there, and grab some shots there, and yeah, do something along them lines. Ever since I think I was about 10 years old, I've always wanted to do something like that, and I finally got the chance. Yeah, so it was good.
Because werewolves are, I mean, they're one of the iconic horror creatures, and they're a fun creature. And when it's done right, I mean, it can be actually absolutely enjoyable. But like you were kind of saying, it's been a while since I've seen a good, like, unique horror movie with, you know, werewolves.
Yeah. I mean, like them along with zombies, I suppose. Yeah, give or take, are the two of everyone's favourite horror creatures from film history. I mean, everyone loves the Wolfman, and you know, there's so many aspects to like them. The mystery, the horror, and the practical effects you can use for a good werewolf film. It's just like to this day, people are still churning them out and still making them, aren't they? So there's obviously an audience for them, and our one keeps getting seen and by people. So yeah, it's our top seller, I think. You know.
I mean, look, you brought up American Werewolf in London, The Howling, Silver Bullet. I mean, those are some iconic horror werewolf movies that I grew up on.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they set the standard in the early 80s for the practical effects. I mean, Rick Baker won the first Oscar, didn't he, for the effects?
Mm-hmm.
And trailblazed the way for like modern, well, I say modern, but the practical effects to reach its apex in the early to mid 80s, and just like blew everyone away, didn't they? No one had seen anything like that before, those two films, and they both come out in the same year, and just completely said this is where the state of the art for practical effects is going. So, and yeah, I mean, werewolf films, they're just something about them. People love a good scary creature, you know, and werewolves have got all this history and like mythology and so much of the culture and stuff, and just like a mystical a beast from years ago always has people's interest, you know, and plus the fact that you have people transforming into them as well. Yes. So it just adds that whole historical thing to it. And obviously growing up here in London, so many films have been based here, and all the lore and the history sort of comes from England as well. So, yeah, it's a great sort of story to research and to and sort of go into. I mean, ours is slightly different. There's more of a twist in terms of the werewolf is invisible, except it is invisible in moonlight. It's fur, which try to add something different to it than just keep doing the same old thing over and over again.
And some great practical effects in this movie. Who actually did the practical effects for the movie?
We got Dave Foxley, who's quite a big makeup artist here in England, who designed the whole creature for us and built it. And it was sort of slightly animatronic, slightly puppet controlled, but full size. And it took two people to get it into the suit. Sort of one as the body and the front legs, and then one as the puppeteer in the head and stuff. There's a behind the scenes video on YouTube, which we've got on our YouTube channel on Other Dimension Films, and there's shots of the behind the scenes with the two guys in trying to get into the suit, because it was quite a squeeze for a woman and quite painful if one was moving a certain way in that. But we got it working. It looked kind of cool. Although you and the audience be the judge of that.
Yeah, because I can imagine the time I was watching this werewolf movie, I was like, boy, I would love to know the behind the scenes stories, because I can imagine there were some challenges.
Budgetary challenges, really. But yeah, I mean, we shot quite a bit of it green screen, some of it on location, and yeah, I mean, it's just stuff like being at like 2 a.m. in someone's back garden, freezing cold, trying to get it to sort of move right, because it was a coordination of two people. So one person was doing one thing, the other one's doing something else, and like every now and again they would sync up, maybe for about a second, and then it would it would actually look like it was doing something good. But I would rather do that than sit at a computer trying to animate a 3D thing that you could tell was just CGI. Actually having it there with the smoke and the actual the physicalness of the action is huge as well. It's like a huge puppet. It's too bad I haven't got it here. I could show you it, but it's
that'd be awesome.
Somewhere. I've just moved it into storage, so I haven't actually got it at the moment. But yeah, it's a big old puppet, and it did look really cool with the eyes and the detail and everything. You don't really get sort of like a real good slow look at it in the film. It's more quick attacking and jumping and stuff, and But it was a challenge. It was a big challenge.
Now, I am probably because I was grew up in the 80s, I'm a huge fan of practical effects. But it seems like more and more and more in modern movies, CGI is the way to go. Everyone's using CGI, and I'm not a big fan of CGI. What are your views on CGI?
For horror, it's just not pure. It's not. I can see that there's artists on the computer, but it's not the same as an artist who's sculpting in clay and he's like making this physical puppet or creature or whatnot. And the artistry just isn't there, and it doesn't look real either. I mean, even even the best CGI, it's getting quite good. Some of the stuff's looking quite good, but it's like, to me, as soon as I know it's CGI, I'm pulled out of the experience. It's like CGI. It just, if it's a real physical, like puppet, or even like sort of stop motion or rod puppetry stuff is really good and far more enjoyable than CGI, because CGI just ceases to not amaze nowadays. We've seen it a million times, and also like it's obvious the actors acting against thin air or just someone in like a green suit or something stupid. You're not getting a real reaction from the actor or like on the film or the camera. So no, I'm not a big fan. It's little things like backgrounds or just putting someone into another scene, I can dig that. But if it comes to creatures, I want to see the monsters. I want to see the monster on the cover of Fangoria magazine, and with the effects makeup artist with it. Whereas the CGI one, what are you do? Like email it to the magazine to the picture. You ain't ever going to get the artistry that someone like Rick Baker does with a puppet or Rob Bottin or someone like that. It just doesn't go over well. And if you watch the new 4K versions of American Werewolf in London and The Howling, the practical effects, they look even better, clearer. It's not showing up faults in the. It's actually making them look even better and more real. And it's actually real. It's in front of the camera. It's right there in front of your face. And those films have never been topped in 40 years. I'm still waiting for someone to come along and do something better with all the money and stuff they got now, and they could use slight CGI but practical, transitions and stuff. Maybe I'll try and do one day.
That would be cool.
Because I'd love to see a full body animatronic chango effect of someone standing there and having everything just extend. Maybe have the actor in the suit somehow and and do it all in one take, which them films never could do. But someone, if you have all the cables and everything, and just do like a werewolf transformation in one take or two takes, someone should do it, because I'd love to see that.
Because I mean, like you said, like one thing I love about the old school practical werewolves is you can actually see the fur, and it looks like it's a real creature there. Compared to CGI, you can just see it's a graphic, and it doesn't have that real. The fur doesn't look real. It just doesn't have that. And like I understand CGI is great for certain types of movies, like the Marvel movies. CGI is great for, but horror needs to stick with practical effects.
Yeah, pretty much. I just think that they've lost something somewhere in the transition from practical effects to CGI, and also wasn't it great to see the models they used to make in films? Like in Alien, the model of the spaceship as being like a real model than just something that's been created in a computer somewhere. I don't know. It just doesn't seem real to me. I mean, we could go on and talk about shooting on film or shooting on digital as well, but I don't want to get into that because something is lost in translation there as well. But definitely the CGI. I mean, I saw the Alien Covenant, was it, with the CGI alien at the end, and it was looking really good. But still CGI. I would rather see someone in a suit for close-ups or for the medium shots. But it was this CGI, and it jumps around like it's weightless, doesn't it? Like it's got more weight to it, and that's the trouble with CGI. They can't get it to move. They're getting better every year. It gets slightly better, but I'd rather see a good suit, and even with the limitations of that. But it's funny because everyone cites Jurassic Park as being the turning point for CGI, but there's only about 15 CGI shots in the whole film. Everything in that film was practical. They built full-size. Stan Winston built full-size animatronic T-Rexes and raptors, and everyone saw it and went, "Oh, but it was all being blown away by the animatronic puppets, not by the CGI." Yeah. And you see the films that have come since then, they're awful because they're all CGI and they look terrible. So, no, you got to do it real. I think it's just too expensive nowadays, to do practical effects. And, it is limited. You'll be limited by how much you can show in one shot, how fast it can move, what it can do. They all want the cameras to be flying around everywhere now and stuff. But, if it's a really good puppet, with really good animatronics and movement, like stuff in The Thing, John Carpenter's The Thing, that completely blew people away. Everything in that film was practical, and it looks amazing.
Now, I see more and more indie horror filmmakers going when I think of indie horror, I think of practical effects. I think of what comes through the blood, the gore. I've seen more and more indie horror filmmakers going the CGI route. Have you noticed that as well?
I've seen that people, sort of. And I've seen some big budget films do it as well. I mean, some of the most recent, for like stuff like bullet hits and stuff like that, and they're doing them CGI, and you think, why would you? Like, even George Romero was doing it back in his later films. He started doing CGI effects, and you think, why would you do that? Because it looks fake, doesn't it? Sometimes you can just tell. It looks
so fake.
Why would you, if it's just time saving and money saving. They do it to save time and money, but ultimately it's what gets put on the film that lasts forever. So why would you want to go cheap and put a cheap CGI effect on that in 50 years time people are going to say that's a really bad CGI effect. It's time and money, isn't it? Budgets and stuff. But I mean, sort of being an independent filmmaker, I can take as long as I want to finish a film and get it right, even if it takes like 2 years, which a new one's taking. At least I can get it right and not, sell out to that. Because why would you want to have CGI effects that? Because as soon as you see a CGI effect, someone goes, "That's CGI."
Everybody calls it out. You know it.
Yeah. I mean, like, we've got little bits of CGI in our films, but the actual, the makeups, the effects of things getting shot or blown up or ripped apart is all practical.
So, look, the last big name horror movie that came out within the last year or two, which was Evil Dead Rises, and it was a good addition to the Evil Dead series. But like for me, the biggest issue with that movie was it was so much CGI. I mean, it was just overboard CGI. And like, being an Evil Dead fan, I'm used to Sam Raimi's practical effects. I mean, those movies were shot low budget. And to see, now, having a big multi-million-dollar budget and just do nothing but CGI blood and CGI makeup effects, it just turned me off. Yeah,
I mean, if a film, but like the studios obviously don't want to do anything practical, and someone needs to start a movement. Do you remember the Dogma 95 movement in the 90s? Yes. And they said all films now are going to be blah blah blah, no, all handheld, all back to basics, and someone needs to start like a horror movement like Dogma 95, call it something like No CGI 2024, and just a set of rules. The film will have no CGI, it'll be shot on film or videotape or something, it will have every practical effect, has to be practical, and someone should just start that, and just say this, even if it's only just for a handful of films, but they can say, like it's going to be pure filmmaking for once, and just not, it's like in music, everyone's buying old tape recorders and 4-track and 8-track and trying to get that sound from the past, or they're using plugins to put the hiss and the poor quality sound onto recordings because it's too crystal clear on digital. And then the same with like film as well, the images too. 4K cameras that they constantly have to try and sort of like put effects and grain and stuff into it, but someone needs to do like a movement for horror films and say this is going to be the practical effects and no CGI at all. Film your titles on paper again.
Yeah.
Just keep it real for once, I'd like to see some films done like that way because, that could be a market for that,
I agree.
It's like in your food,
because the horror movies are meant to scare people, and CGI, there's nothing scary about CGI. There's nothing scary about CGI effects.
Yeah, I mean, I can't think of any recently that I've seen that actually did impress me, CGI's got a place in cinema, definitely. Like I said, the Marvel films, kids' films, animation, horror films. Though it's always been a debatable subject, hasn't it? About if it should be used sparingly. I mean, like if you watch that remake of the Thing, and they apparently built everything practically, but then went the CGI route, and it just looked awful and got completely bad reviews and bad press for even going the CGI route, regardless of how good it looked. Not that it looked that great. So I think it's filmmakers are going to use it because it's quick, it's cheap, it's easy, but you got to remember it's lacking something. Like you said, The Evil Dead was raw. Everything was real. It happened organically. Because if you sort of blow up something or shoot off a blood bag or something, the blood might do something and fly off somewhere and look amazing. Whereas the CGI ones you put on always do the same thing, and this, and it's missing something. I mean, can you imagine that scene in Alien as it bursts out of John Hurt's chest with CGI blood coming out?
It was terrible.
Absolutely stupid, wasn't it? That's what it's coming to, isn't it? I think
it unfortunately is. Now, shooting over to something else, you have a comic motion series out right now. That's called Comic Shock.
Comic Shock. We started one, yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
I just wanted to do something different. I wanted to create. Like, I love listening to audiobooks and authors reading their books. And I was really into, like, comics, like the British 2000 AD comic, Judge Dredd and that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And I thought it'd be a cool idea to combine the two and have an audiobook combined with a comic book. And like an old 80s, because in the 80s, most comics were black and white as well. And I love black and white films and black and white work anyway. And I thought, why not have all the atmosphere with the sound effects and stuff of an audiobook, but have the cool sort of motion animation of a live action comic book as well. So it's, a whole new sort of audio visual experience, which hopefully it is in a way, to draw the viewer in, hearing all this, because you're hearing all the sound effects, all the footsteps, and a lot of it you're creating in your own mind as well as actually seeing the actual pictures. So hopefully we've come up with something that's a whole new kind of experience for that.
And the artwork is amazing. Now, who actually did all the artwork?
Oh, thank you. It's me.
Oh, you did? Wow.
I don't think it's that amazing.
I liked it.
I haven't drawn for a long time, and I used to be quite good at it, but I had struggled. I didn't think lots of them pictures I had to redo until I got them right. I got better by the third episode, I think. Some of the drawings in that were quite good. But I did all the drawings. I just started going back through loads of old 80s comic books and just thought, what were some of the characters and things I used to really like. And to get a certain look where there's lots of blacks and lots of shadows.
Yes.
And again, your mind will fill in the blanks, and we can sort of zoom slowly out and reveal pictures. And it was just complete freedom. And because when you're making a film, it's compromise. Everything is a compromise. Every second of every shot of every day you're filming is a compromise. Whereas in Comic Shock, I could have whatever I wanted, and I got it every time. I wanted to have a creature with like 100 arms and be completely from the imagination onto the page, and I could get it 100%. I could just rub it out and draw again, Whereas when you're making a film, it's like, damn, we haven't got time to shoot that. We haven't got time to get this angle, this shot. Yeah, it's really annoying. It's you're like, every day you're just frustrated. Whereas in the comics, I could say, I want this creature here, that creature there, and I want them all to be bursting out at the same time, and I just draw it. So it was amazing artistically, because I got exactly what I wanted with that. It wasn't a compromise, and you can think up anything. You can think, character can be on the moon. You just draw it, Once you make a film, you can write a script, and you're like, oh, we've got to have, he's got to be, he could be in the woods, Well, yes, So,
now, to be a lifelong comic book fan, how amazing was it to finally see that you made a comic?
Yeah, I was in the middle of shooting a new film, and I was like sick of it. I was completely sick of shooting, and we still had weeks and weeks to go, weeks and weeks. And I'm like, I just needed something to get me out of that, and Comic Shock was that. I could concentrate on that, and everything was not a compromise. Everything was not a struggle. Everything was not hassle. Everything was not difficulty and problems. And we had a lot of fun where we got a bunch of actors and we got them into a studio. And that was a great experience as well, because we're just all relaxed. We're sitting down. We just got the microphones up and everyone just did the lines and we went over. It's just like a stage play, like they're recording a radio show kind of thing. And we had a lot of fun doing that. We did that in like 2 hours. And it was all done, all the 3 episodes, and then I went back and weeks and weeks of drawing and inking and but no, I loved it. I'm going to do some more. I've got some more characters, some more stories. I just wish we get more viewers for them. Like it's not really got enough of a viewership yet to warrant any new episodes. We was kind of hoping it would take off a bit more on YouTube and Rumble. Some channels have picked it up at the moment, which the names of them elude me, but it is sort of slowly coming out onto more channels. But I don't know. I think it's like people have to really sit and get engrossed into it. It's not YouTube is more about click. I'm watching. I'm going to click off in 5 seconds. You've got to sit for 15 minutes each episode and really get engrossed into it and drawn into the. So I don't know. It's not really taking off at the moment. So,
well, everybody. By the way, go down into the description box and definitely check it out. It's fun. But I agree with you. I mean, as a YouTube creator, people don't have a fucking attention span anymore. Like people have like an attention span of like a 3-year-old, and and I guess because we're in this YouTube society or something, or this TikTok, it's like people's attention spans are gone. Because I mean, I even watch
don't they? Swiping, change.
I mean, because I see even like when somebody, I can see like somebody video watch, and I can see the age range of people who are watching, and like that 31 to like 18, they literally have like a 10-second time. I mean, they can focus on something for 10 seconds and they're out. It could be something they enjoy, but after 10 seconds, their brain completely checks out.
Yeah, I mean, I was hoping Comic Shock was made for. I used to work like night shifts in places, and it's made for someone who's like sitting there at 2 o'clock in the morning in some factory or something, just sitting there and put it on and get really engrossed in the audio story of it. And it's made for people who've got like an hour to kill in the middle of the night, who just want to sit and listen to put the headphones on. And I think it's perfect for that, But for someone who's just swiping through videos, each picture's on screen for maybe 20, 30 seconds, it's probably too slow for them. They want action, things quick. So I don't know if it's not hit its audience quite yet, or I don't know. And people want more comic book action in their comics. This is more like comic story, creep show kind of thing, but not action heroes, not superheroes, not stuff like that. So I don't know. I thought it would get people who love to read books, love audio books, love listening to audio stories, and it would give them a little bit something else with the pictures and the comic books in it as well. But I don't know, maybe it's too slow for YouTube. Maybe some other channels that it's going on to now, it might find a better audience. I mean,
because I listened to it on my, I I had to go out from Baltimore to DC, which is about a good 45-minute hour ride. So like that's when I do a lot of that's when I listen to a lot of long form YouTube. And
Mm.
like, so I mean, this is something perfect if you have that commute. 'Cause I don't listen to the radio anymore, and I don't know if the radio medium has died, but like, it seems like they play the same songs over and over again, or the same news over and over again. So I have mostly when I'm in the car, I put on something long form YouTube, and I just listen to on my commute back and forth to work.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's like podcasts are quite good.
Yeah,
And that I love, yeah, if I'm driving, audiobooks and that type of thing are great for like if you're driving, because obviously
hmm
you can't read and you can listen to stuff. And
even
there's,
washing the dishes, even like washing the dishes or cleaning, like audiobooks are amazing. Like
yeah,
that's when I do a lot of my audiobooks when I'm long form. So when I'm cleaning, I'm doing something and I need something to
something
distract
to make
me.
it go a bit quicker, because like doing
Exactly.
stuff, doing the ironing, I'll stick an audiobook on or something, because you just need something to listen to, and it gets your imagination going, doesn't it? But yeah, I don't know. And so maybe YouTube's not the right channel for it at the moment. There's not action enough for them. It's more of an immersive experience. Like I said, it's more of the sort of doing something else and listening to it kind of thing. Yeah, I don't know. I don't
There's an
know.
audience, but there is an audience for it because I was thinking the same thing with my channel. I was like, boy, I'm posting 30 an hour long interviews. Who is listening to this? Because I'm looking at that 18 to 31 year olds. You know what I mean? And they're clicking off in 5 seconds. But no, but like there's still that 32 to 60 some that like that long form and they
Yeah,
like to have something to listen to. So no, I don't think. I mean, I think YouTube. Unfortunately, YouTube is majority of that 18 to 31 crowd. There's more and more individuals who are my age and older who are definitely becoming fans of the YouTube channel.
yeah. Well, that's good. That's good. I'm glad you're picking up numbers, because
Yes,
you're competing against like millions of videos
yes,
being uploaded every second, and a lot of them
yeah,
are 20-second pictures of someone tripping over or something, and they're just clogging up the airwaves for the quality channels like yours. That
yeah.
just can't get their audience into the right place. But I think it just builds over time. If you
You
keep
just have to you just have
uploading
to find
content.
your yeah. You just got to find your audience, and and that takes time because, like you said, YouTube is filled with, like you said, a bunch of people falling over or tripping over something in pranks, and it's also filled with a lot of half naked women shaking their ass and tits. So I mean, that's YouTube. I mean, that's what people want to see.
And sadly, YouTube's got algorithms, which it's surprising what videos of mine take off and which ones don't. And that's all algorithms. It's who clicks
Yep.
on it, and clicks off of it straight away.
Who likes it?
And
Who comments on it?
yeah, and that as well. So like you never know. We put all content up, and you think, oh, that'll do well, and it doesn't. And then something you just put up does really well, and it's like, I'll be damned. Like if I know what's causing that to go.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, YouTube's great. It's the biggest channel in the world, I'd say. But there's a lot of crap on there, a lot of crap, and we have to keep posting good content for intelligent people. There's some out there. Well, they're out there. They're out there somewhere, and we got to
Yeah.
keep posting stuff for them, because it's a great opportunity. It's a great platform. It's a great channel. It's free. You can put whatever you want, say whatever you want, and it's just the trouble that there's a majority out there who just want to flick on and watch a load of rubbish.
Yeah.
It's why McDonald's is so popular. It's just junk food for the brain, isn't it?
Yeah.
And sadly, YouTube is full of junk food. Then we've got to get rid of that and start getting some great, healthy vegan food onto YouTube that's going to like enrich people's lives, and because you got to be in it for the long haul. That quick instant, that's not going to sustain you or sustain your imagination. You got to go deeper and further into something, whether it be a story or an interview, and get to the core of it. You know, this instant, I just want to watch 10 seconds. Oh, that's fine. Something blew up. Someone fell over. That ultimately, for the sake of mankind, is not going to sustain people's interests. It's the long haul that you got to be in for. You got to get, and that is when you finally find something that you find entertaining and satisfying. And like, I can see what you're doing as well, because it's like, have you ever read a horror magazine recently? All they talk about is the bloody films in the 60s and 70s and 80s.
Yep.
Because that's all people want to buy. But there's like hundreds and hundreds of new horror films coming out every day, independent ones that the magazines will never write about. And someone should be writing about them. Good, bad, indifferent, but they should be written about. They're just ignored. Independent horror films are like the scourge for the, and there's all these, I don't mean to be rude, but super fans who just have all their little Freddy and Jason figures up everywhere. And, I can appreciate them films, but that was 40 years ago, man. Start living in the present. There's filmmakers out there. I mean, there's a lot of crap. Yeah, there is.
There's a lot of crap.
But someone's got to be making something good out there.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I am, but someone's got to be making... where's the new Sam Raimi, the new Wes Craven, the new, Stanley Kubrick's out there who are making good stuff that never gets a look in because all the magazines are writing about is, Hammer horror films or John Carpenter films from the 70s, which we've seen and analysed and read about to death. I do like to read about them, but, the world, if horror's going to survive, you have to accept the new stuff. I mean, it's getting harder and harder to come up with something original every day. And it's getting harder and harder to show something original every day. Because we've seen everything. We've seen all the effects. But, like if there's going to be a new golden age of horror, we have to create it. And people have to talk about it and watch it. Because it'll just, everything's just a repeat of a remake, of a repetition. We have to do something new, and it's got to be practical, as we've said.
Yes, 100%.
And it's got to, people have got to be interested again in new stuff and stop, sort of like worshipping all these old films, which they are great. They're great. They always were. But, it's like times have to change.
Now, I mean, aren't you shocked that there's so many people who say they're into indie horror, but indie horror has become a niche. It's only a small amount of people, and I don't think indie horror creators know this. But indie horror, majority of people in society who are quote unquote horror fans, if you ask them, it's the Jason, it's the Michael Myers, it's what comes out in the theaters. Most people do not watch indie horror movies unless it's something like an X or something like Talk to Me, something that has buzz behind it. But the real indie horror, most horror fans do not acknowledge that. They say, "Oh, it's low budget, it looks shitty" or something. But don't you think there should be more? And I'm not even talking about myself, but don't you think it should be more people following indie horror, like journalists, magazines,
absolutely,
podcasters, YouTubes? Like, I was completely shocked when I got into this, and I was the only one who was doing it. I was completely shocked. I mean, I'm the number one horror YouTube channel, indie horror YouTube channel. But there should be a lot more free avenues for indie horror creators to go to and get a spotlight on. The key word is free, because listen, there's magazines out there that will love to publish your indie horror movies and your projects for a charge. But there's not that many free options.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like, obviously a big problem is the amount of material that's coming out. You know, who's keeping track of how many films are coming? There's a lot of films coming out. You got a lot of time to watch them. That's a problem. But still, there should be websites where people are like a community, so sort of telling other people that's a good film to watch. This is a good film to watch. Check that out. There should be some kind of underground. What's the word I'm looking for? Sort of underground thing where people can tell other people about good films. But I said there's got to be an interest in it. There's this huge problem where we're just stuck in the past at the moment. Because that was the golden age in the 80s, you know, because it was groundbreaking, because it was, you know, the breaking boundaries, and they reached the ceiling of how gory a film can get. It got more gory, you know. So we have regressed a little bit, but it still doesn't mean that we can't make good horror films still and interesting stories. But there's no grapevine is the word I was looking for. There's no underground grapevine where people are finding these hidden gems on YouTube or on Tubi or channels like that, and spreading the word about it. And also, like, no one influential is putting a spotlight on anything. People like Mick Garris, Stephen King, although Stephen King does mention things occasionally, but no one is, you know, if you see like any interview show, I mean, it is fair enough to say, like, it's going to be Tom Savini, it's going to be names who we know, because that's what sells, isn't it? It was to see, you know, but they've got to have some kind of new magazine that is only concentrating on new indie films, because there's got to be some good ones out there. And people got, you know, how many times can you watch Halloween again? You know, you just sit there and again you want to see something new that's quite good, but you've been burned so many times by watching so many bad films, and you're like, I don't take a chance on losing 2 hours of my life. But someone should be listing them and doing, you know. But the thing is, like, the indie channels don't even last. Some guy did a channel last year called Scareplex. I don't know if you heard of it. And
I actually interviewed them. Yes.
Oh, right, yeah. And he put Pounce and Sniper Corps on there, a couple of our films, and he had a bit of an audience, but he struggled to get the audience, and it shut down like within 6 months. So people, you know, don't want to see unknown films with unknown actors, and it's always a bit of a hard sell. I mean, like, horror films normally, like, if you have a monster, you can sell it because the monster's the star of the film, you know. But it is a tough sell. The micro-budget films, you know, it's difficult. People don't really want to see them. Yeah. Except you. He's doing a great job of falling through all these films, you know. I mean, how many do you see, like, a proportion of good to bad? Do you see, like, say, 10 bad films for one good film? Or do you see, like, some real sort of good quality?
So I would say it's 50-50. I would say it's about 50-50. But see, but I also toss in. So if we're just talking about indie horror movies, like, we're not talking about Talk to Me. We're not talking about A24.
Indie ones.
We're talking about real indie horror movies. It's about 50-50. Thank God. I mean, I haven't interviewed. There's some terrible indie horror movies out there. I mean, just there's no effort put into them, and like, I'm like, well, where were you going with this? You know, thank God I haven't interviewed any of those directors. I mean, but the most part, I can see, you know, the effort. I can see the creativity. I can see the passion behind the movie. But I would say it's about 50-50, and the 50 that I necessarily I'm not a big fan of is because I don't know, maybe I should do a ranking on the 5 things I dislike about indie horror movies. Maybe that's another video, but I can tell you one thing that I'm gonna do a top 10. I can tell you one thing in my 10 is I don't like a direct knockoff of a I mean, not. I mean, every movie's horror movies is a knockoff, but it's like a
Yeah,
beat for beat knockoff of a established iconic horror movie.
yeah,
You know, I that bothers me. If you have a guy who's running around with a Jason mask on, and he's at a camp, and his mother gets killed. It's literally looks and feels like Friday and Friday the 13th, but it's named something else. It just bothers me. I mean, now I don't mind the fan films, the Friday the 13th fan film, because I know it's the Friday the 13th fan film. But if I'm going in to see, I don't know. I hope I'm not naming a real movie, but like Camp Blood or something, and I go in and it's literally Friday the 13th, but a low budget version of it. It just turns me off instantly.
yeah. I'm the same. It's you got to have good writing, but not only that, you got to have an original idea, really, because everything's been done, like you said. How many, because I would never make a slasher film, because what could you do new, like in a slasher film,
No.
Everything has been done, every mask, every killing instrument, you're going to lose.
Mm-hmm.
So come up with something original, whether it be the monster, the concept, It is difficult, though, because everything has been done. We're living in a time where pretty much every story has been told well and better. And there's only so many ideas in the world, all you can do nowadays is try and update something in the times we live in, It's difficult. No, and that is a problem, because obviously it's like film has been around for over 120 years.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of films been made.
Yeah.
I mean, just like think of it like this: like if you make a film today and you want an audience to see it, if you made that film in like 1982, there's like 40 years of films you're competing against that weren't around back then. So it was easier to get seen back then, because you got 40 years of perhaps 2,000 films a year being made. You've got a lot of films out there at the moment which people can pick from. So it's like it gets harder every day to get seen. It gets harder every day to make up a new angle. But you got to try. You got to push the envelope of what a story is and what can be filmed, how you can film it, what effects you can do, because you got to keep going forwards. You can't just, that's why a lot of films, it's not lazy, it's just, it's difficult to come up with something new, and people just want to, go and make stuff, but it's difficult. You got to sit down and think, what have I not seen before? A new camera trick, a new style of filming, a new creature. And like I said, people too often than not just stick a clown mask on, give the man out.
You can do that, but listen, you can do an idea that I've already seen before, right? Because if someone came up to me right now and says, Travis, I'll give you $1 million right now to come up with a creative horror movie idea, and in my mind I'll be like, oh, I got one. I can tell you a scenario, and I guarantee there's probably 20 movies done with that same scenario.
Yeah.
It's impossible to think of something. I didn't even thought of things, and then I would have a filmmaker come on like the following week. I'm like, and they will be repeating back to me my creative idea for a horror movie. So it's almost impossible to come up with something new, but you can add your own spin. But that's why I feel like also too, characters. It's a movie watcher. This is when characters are important, not necessarily the killer and the blood and the gore, but the actual characters. If you develop the characters well, there's no way you can have the same characters in a horror movie. Like your characters are so important. The character development is so important that can make your movie stand out compared to other ones.
That, in terms of modern cinema, full stop, whether it be on Netflix or the Cinemaplex, sort of most of the good TV and films I see now, it's because it's got great characters and great story. Like maybe a story you've seen before, but because the characters and the story is so well done, that's all you can really do nowadays, I think, to do something different, is to get slightly different characters and different situations and have a really good story, but like character-based story. You can do that in horror as well. You know, it doesn't just have to be dramas and stuff. If you
Yeah,
really
100%.
can get the characters and a really good, like, emotional story with the characters, yeah, then you can throw in your monsters in the background and that. Because it's got to stem from that. The days of just having a monster running around killing, you know, as the
Yeah.
story is over, isn't it? You know, you need there's something else now. The human characters have got to be the story and the focus, and that. You can't just have, like, you know, oh, we get trapped on an island and there's big dinosaurs running around, you know, which is
Been
why
there, done that.
yeah, which is why I'm so sick of that. I really loved the first Jurassic Park film up until about halfway. And then it falls into people running around being chased by the dinosaurs. The first half of that film is talking about DNA and cloning and these really interesting concepts, and you're loving it. And then the second half is just running around being chased by dinosaurs, and it just loses everything
Been done that.
for
Yeah,
me, you know. But
I totally agree.
that's what films need to do, is get the characters to be telling the stories, and, you know, and get into the minds of the characters, because you got these great actors around now. You got you know, so many avenues for making films, but you gotta just get the story going and get an emotional story.
But that's something that the Asian horror movie market is killing at right now. I mean, they are killing it because Train to Busan. Listen, we've seen zombies, we've seen things on trains killing people. But Train to Busan was so good because of the fucking characters. I mean, you cared about those characters. You hated those characters. You felt like you knew who those characters were. It was not about the zombies. It was about the people. It was about the characters, but the victims. That movie was so good because you knew who the characters were. You knew about the pregnant chick. You knew about the father with his daughter. You knew about the guy who was abusive to his wife. You knew all these characters. And over this time, it was less about the zombies. It was more about the characters.
Yeah, which, yeah, that's ultimately, you know, you can only get so much characterization out of a zombie, you know.
Yes.
You got to get it from the human characters. That's, you know,
Exactly.
always got that correct.
Exactly.
And yeah, I mean, where do you see horror going in the future then? I mean, you're watching a lot of these new films, and what's your take on it at the moment? Because it's not a good time at the moment. It's not a fun time. It's not a great time for great movies. To be a horror fan now is difficult, you know.
I think that we are in. So this is the horror genre. I'm a horror connoisseur. So horror genre does this. Let me get on camera. It does this, and it goes this, and it does this and this. Every 10 years, it dies, and then it comes back and it resurges. We are in that death part. Like, we are, the horror industry is right there from dying for 10 years. And you know, and then, like, but we need that Blair Witch Project. You need that Scream. You need that Hostel. You need that next thing that's going to resurge the horror industry. And I just don't see it right now. I don't see, you know, I know some people say, "Whoa, the Terrifier series," but the Terrifier series, I mean, it's listen, the movies are practical, are great, but I don't. That's that new idea. That's not that new that resurgent. I see a bunch of right now. People are buying public domains of Winnie the Pooh and Mickey Mouse and shit like that, and making them into horror movies. And I'm telling you, look, that is what's going to happen. That is going to kill the horror industry for 10 years. It's going to kill the horror industry, because the horror industry, every 10 years it dies. After 10 years it dies, and then it has a resurgence for another 10 years. So we are right there in the death part of horror, where we're going to have a good 3 to 4 years of people not focusing on horror. Horror is not going to be the main thing, and that's when you go into people talking about Halloween 1978 and Nightmare on Elm Street, and for a good 4 or 5 years, and then all of a sudden somebody is going to come out with that next Blair Witch, that next Paranormal Activity, that next, once again, the Scream, Hostel, something that is going to be like, it's going to flip the script, and And then unfortunately, this was going to happen. Everybody's going to copy off of that idea.
And then, yeah.
Like all the movies I named, Blair Witch, Scream, Hustle, people copy, and it goes up, and then it goes right back down. That's the pattern of horror.
Yeah.
It goes
sadly,
down.
yeah, that's the good and the bad of it, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
But the majors aren't helping. You know, they're just...
And that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the majors. Like the majors, the majors are not tapping into, because the majors used to tap in on the indie horror filmmakers. I mean, that's where, you know, when they went to find their next name, they would start looking in the indie scene and pulling up that Eli Roth or pulling up that I'm trying to think of what's happening, but like pulling up that next guy and pulling them or gal and pulling them up. But right now, the indie horror market is so flooded. I mean, it's just so flooded. Where do you look? I mean, how do you start? That's my biggest thing as an indie horror fan. It's if I go on Tubi or Plex right now, unless someone told me that to watch this movie is good, or unless I'm interviewing somebody right in their movie, I don't know where to start. I don't know where to pick because I can go by the natural selection way of going by the movie poster, but then you click on the poster and the movie don't look like the fucking poster. So you know what I mean? So like it's a scary avenue that indie horror is going to. I'm talking about filmmaking, but I'm talking for the audience because the audience first, and I'm not talking about the hardcore. I'm talking about that casual, and the casual horror fans make up the majority of the market of the horror community. The casuals, the casuals spend more money in horror and watch more horror than hardcore do, and the casuals are checking out because they don't know where to start. They don't know that they go into Tubi or Amazon and they go into horror, and there's just so much stuff.
Yeah. They need someone like you to sort of sort through all the films and find the hidden gems. There needs to be some like a roadmap of indie horror. You know, there's no. It's a big sea of movies and posters, like you said. For many times I've clicked on a poster and the film looks nothing like. That's marketing, though, isn't it? But that's what the video VHS industry was people picking up covers and going, it's good, and it was a crap film. But yeah, no, there needs to be some kind of curation and organisation of indie horror films, like a website. You know, like news for indie horror or something, where people can really sort of see what's good, what's bad, who's doing a good job, who's
You can't do that. You can't do that. I tried doing that. And indie horror filmmakers, listen, by the way, I love you guys, but indie horror filmmakers do not take well to criticism at all. I mean, and they stick together, and I'm telling you what now, you say something bad about indie horror movie, you're done. You're done.
Yeah.
You're done.
Which is a shame because no one's making good films, you know. Because you can't. Like that lower budget, it's only going to be, you know, a film that someone might put on, they might enjoy it, or they stick it on at a party to have a laugh. And if it works for that, then it works for that. Great, you know. If they're paying for that, great. It's not high art we're doing, but there is a use for it for the audience. Whether it's we have some fun, have a laugh, but yeah, don't take yourself too seriously. Jesus, you know.
Indie horror filmmakers take it extra because I used to do reviews. That's how my channel started. I was doing reviews of indie horror movies, and I was getting nasty comments from indie horror filmmakers. And then one actually said, "Hey, I would like to come on your show for an interview since you hate my movie so much or something." And I was like, "Okay." And that's how I started doing interviews. That's literally the story of how I started doing interviews. Was I? It was a terrible movie. Listen, I'm not gonna lie. It was a terrible movie, and I gave it a bad score and had her come on my show, and I enjoyed talking to her, and I got to understand why the movie was so bad, and it had nothing to do with her. It was about the cast that she had was not cooperative. They were not, they were trying to rush off onto another film, so they were rushing her. And I get it now. I get why some indie horror movies are so bad. It has, or even big budget movies are so bad. It has nothing to do sometimes with the filmmaker. It's all the other variables. It's about locations. It's about distribution. It's about okay, I'm putting my movie up on Tubi, but Tubi wants me to cut out 20% of the movie or something. It's all of those factors in it. So I don't bash indie horror movies anymore. And I would love to do an honest review show and give like a thumbs up, 2 thumbs up, or 2 thumbs down. But you cannot do that with indie horror.
It's difficult, yeah. I love it when someone says...
I love them, but they're too thin-skinned for reviews and criticism.
Yeah, I mean, if filmmakers listen to their audience more, then they'd make better films. You don't have to take everything as gospel, because what one person likes, someone else might not like. Yeah. I've got reviews for my films where someone sees it and says it's the best thing they've seen all day, and they loved it. Love the cat, Then someone just goes, "Oh, that's crap. I'm bored. I turned it off." And yeah, they're both right. For them, because film is subjective. It's like, they probably like, I don't know, different food to you or different music to you, but it doesn't mean to say I'm right and you're wrong. That's your opinion. That's the beauty of the world. Everyone's got their own opinion. Of course, there's a majority of people might like a film, more so than a minority. But if you don't listen to your audience, you're never going to grow as a filmmaker. Some of them are idiots, and you just ignore them.
But when you say people have different tastes, like my favorite Friday the 13th movie is the reboot, and people look at me like I'm crazy. But I enjoy the reboot. I know that's not a popular opinion, but that's my opinion. But I'm not a huge Friday the 13th fan. From Jump Street, so I'm the wrong person to ask, what do you think of Friday the 13th movies? Because I'm like, okay, well, part 4, part 6 were good in the reboot. All the rest of them, I'm just not a fan of, because it's recycle, rinse, repeat.
I've got a strange liking for part 7.
Part 7, really?
With the whole Carrie aspect of it, I love that film. It's something different, isn't it? At least it tried something different. I like that. And the character of that girl and her doctor, they're actually quite good characters for a Friday the 13th film.
Yeah,
they're quite good characters. There's a different story going on there. That's a guilty pleasure of mine.
Yeah. Jason Goes to Hell. I would say Jason Goes to Hell. I hold that dear to my heart, is because it's the first movie I saw in the movie theaters. So I know it's not the greatest movie, but I enjoy it because it's like a sentimental thing. It's like, oh, this is the first movie I saw in the movie theater.
I think indie films can be guilty pleasures. If they're frat houses are doing keg parties, whatever you call it, and you want to just put a film on to have a laugh, you'll pick some low budget indie film and have great fun with it than say putting on Titanic and all.
Yes.
These films are made for these events. And I think also, horror films in general are great with groups of people watching in an audience, because you shout, you stand up, and this is bad, this is crap, an indie horror films are just made for that kind of. If you've got a bad suit, a bad costume, it can be a blast for people watching it on drunken film nights.
I was about to say, there's a lot of indie horror movies that are great to watch. I mean, amazing to watch when you're not sober. There's some great ones that are amazing to watch when you're not sober, and and it's just a fun experience.
Yeah, I've made a few of them.
Yeah. Yes. Zombie Sniper is one of them. I love Zombie Sniper.
I hope
I
some
love
people
Zombie Sniper.
are enjoying that and having these parties and putting them on and having a good laugh, because they're made. Yeah, some of them, bits of them, are made for that kind of audience. And yeah, absolutely. I mean, who doesn't on a Friday night when you got your friends over? You watch a good serious film first. You'll put on, some, I don't know, Jack Nicholson or someone in it, and but then you'll want to put on something. Yeah, I'm the same. I like to put on some indie, trashy '70s film, or just something to.
I don't go into Tubi, but I don't go into Tubi on a Friday night if I'm watching indie horror. I don't go into Tubi looking for the next Halloween 78. I am looking for something that's going to be campy, trashy, and fun. And then when it turns out to be great, I'm shocked. I'm like, wow, I can't believe that. That was a good movie. But I go in knowing that I'm gonna be laughing and like, whoa, what the damn boom mic is right there in shot. Like, I'm expecting to see that type of stuff, and that's fun. But every once in a while, I'm shocked, like, and I'm like, wow, this is actually a great movie. Like, one of my favorite bad to-be horror movies is called Velociraptor. I don't know if you've seen that. I love Velociraptor. I was definitely under the influence one night, and I watched that, and I fucking love that movie. Absolutely love it. I was laughing, and I don't even think it was meant to be a comedy, but I was laughing the whole entire time.
There you go. I mean, it gets to the point in the night where the badder the film gets, the more fun it gets for the audience, And
I watched the whole thing. That's the key too. Whether it be bad, good, whatever. The key is you want people to watch the whole entire thing, and also have some kind of emotion. Whether it be like laughing, scared, something. Sometimes laughter is fine. Sometimes you can get because I was watching a documentary on the guy who made Birdemic, and he thought he was making some kind of powerful movie that it was talking about the environment and everything, and then he screened it. Yes, and he screened it, and everybody was laughing the whole entire time, and it became a big cult following of a series of these bad, low budget comedy horror movies, but he never saw it as being funny.
Maybe that's the key.
Yes, but he's made millions of dollars on it. So I mean, who's winning?
Yeah,
who's winning?
He's entertaining millions of people at the same time.
Exactly. So. All right, Keith, where can everyone find you, my friend?
Go on our YouTube channel. Other Dimension Films, and also otherdimensionfilms.com. You can find all the Pounce, Sniper Corps, The Unwelcome, which is doing really well actually, and the Comic Shock episodes on there to check out. And please, leave reviews. I wish people would review the films more. We don't get too
what it is, man. But listen, Keith. I'm telling you what it is. So this is me. Someone has an inside scoop. People do not leave reviews on indie horror movies because indie horror, not all of them, but a lot of them take it so fucking personal. And I get it. It's your baby or something. But like, sometimes you have to listen to it. I mean, at the end of the day, you're making something for the audience to watch. Listen to what they say. I mean,
absolutely, yeah.
Hurt.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's you can learn so much from them, and like every film is a learning experience. And if you don't listen to the audience, you ain't going to improve.
I mean, you're not making the movies for you to watch. You're making for other people to watch.
The audience, they're the people like who you're making it for. They're the ones who've got to see it, and if they don't like it, then you're doing something wrong, and you've got to learn from your mistakes. So,
listen,
for next time,
Keith, it's been an absolute blast having you back on, man. It was fun. Everybody, get over to your Tubi and all your streaming channels and check out Pounce, and also go down to the description box and click on to Keith's YouTube channel and go ahead and check out Comic Shock and all of his work.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
No problem.
And
All right,
keep up
everyone.
the work. I look forward to seeing your next series of interviews. And yeah, keep it going, man.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. Listen, if I get enough comments from indie filmmakers that they say, no, Travis, you can go ahead and do reviews on our movies. If I get 25 indie filmmakers who say that, I will go ahead and incorporate doing reviews.
Yeah, I mean, start with my films. You know, I'm always open to reviews. They're not
Okay.
classic. So, but yeah, I look forward to catching up with them at some point.
Sounds good. Keith, you're going to be the first one because I'm going to review one of your movies next month. Okay, I'm just giving you a heads up so that one of your movies is going to be the first one to be reviewed.
Yeah, go for it. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, everyone. Well, thank you for coming to the Horror Room. I'm Travis Bruce, and that's Keith Robinson. I'll see you next time. Take care.
See you, man.